Elizabeth Castillo is a socialist nurse. She has been fighting for single-payer healthcare for years, mostly inside of the Democratic Party. She was even elected to the LA County Democratic Party Central Committee. But these days, she's had it with the party and is rallying community members to oppose its policies, which she rejects just as she rejects the policies of the Republican Party. Here, she narrates her experience with prominent Democratic Party politicians and invites the working class community to a bold new future outside of the Democratic Party.
I'll introduce myself first. My name is Elizabeth Castillo, and I'm a nurse. I've been a registered nurse here in California in the city of Long Beach for 12 years. I decided to run in 2020 against the incumbent Lina Gonzalez, Senator Lina Gonzalez, who is the senator for the 33rd District, which covers most of Southeast LA, Long Beach, Signal Hill, and Bell Gardens, some other cities like South Central as well, Vernon. So I decided to run because she was running unopposed. She's anointed by the Democratic Party. She's anointed by former Senator Ricardo Lara, who is now the Insurance Commissioner of California. She's also anointed by Mayor Garcia of Long Beach. And I just felt like it was undemocratic that she sit in this seat without working for it. She's been given the money from the Democratic Party, and she really hasn't done anything for Southeast LA. So I decided to run. I ran as a write-in at first, and then during the election I was put onto the ballot after that, and I did get 101,000 votes to her 164, which I think is a pretty amazing thing since I only spent $2,200 in my campaign. I was unknown, I was a grassroots, I ran a grassroots campaign. And it just goes to show you where the working class people are of California, of Southeast LA, that they want change and they don't feel that their senator is doing what she's supposed to be doing for them. So they were willing to try and get a nurse in, because as we know, we are considered some of the most respected professions in the country, especially now with the pandemic. And so it just goes to show what the working class people want. They want change, and they're tired of this Democratic Party. And so what I wanted to talk about also is the fact that during this campaign, I received a letter by lawyers from Senator Gonzalez. It was a cease and desist letter. And along with it were other activists from Long Beach also. And she was accusing of us of harassing her and her family, her husband and her children, and her minor children, and saying that we were defaming her husband and then harassing them at her home, which is totally false. But this is what they do. This is what the Democratic Party does. And this is happening within the state, local levels as well. City council members are doing this to activists, to silence activists, and at the state level also. So this is what she does to bully and intimidate grassroots activists, because they're afraid. They don't want us to speak up against their corruption and expose them. And so what they do is they send out letters to intimidate activists. So she accused the other activists on this letter, saying that they were defaming her husband. Honestly, I don't think that's the case, but she had nothing to stand on, because this, as far as I know, it went nowhere. So that this definitely proves that it's just bogus. And then she put me in here saying that I had gone to her home and with a bullhorn at night, 11 p.m. at night, and I put the bullhorn. I was walking back and forth with the bullhorn, screaming, and I put a flashlight in her house and her window, which was totally false. And then that I came back on another day as well, and that I was ringing her doorbell incessantly and harassing her family, which is false. I will say that I did go to her home one time, early evening, with two other friends, and we did not use a bullhorn. I knocked at her door, rang her doorbell. Her husband came to the door, said she was not home and to go to her office to speak with her, which we actually did. And she never returned our calls. She never addressed our concerns. I wanted to speak to her about SB 625, about the water privatization bill. And so she never responded to that at all. So that shows you that she doesn't really care. She doesn't care about the people of Southeast LA. And so this is what I want to bring to the attention of what's going on within the Democratic Party and what they're doing to grassroots activists. They're silencing, they're trying to take the First Amendment free speech away from people, from their constituents, because also what they have done to a friend of mine, Carlos Ovalle, who was an activist in Long Beach. When he has exposed their corruption, he has blocked him from her Facebook and Twitter page. And I mean, this is what they're doing. They're doing it to Leticia Vasquez, who is a board member of the Water Board. They have filed a bogus lawsuit against her. But this is all fear of being exposed for their corruption, and they use their thug lawyers to intimidate grassroots activists. And I mean, basically, the Democratic Party is a right-wing political party, the party of capitalism. They are not the party of the working class. And I mean, we're seeing that right now with everything that's happening in our national level. You saw what Kamala Harris just said about immigrants. Don't come here. And we're going to continue building that wall. So basically, Trumpian rhetoric, just like Trump. They're continuing the same policies as Trump.
Yeah, so if we had some of those Democratic politicians in this room, they might say that you are doing the Republican Party's work for them and that you are opposed to democratic principles. What would you say to that?
Actually, I'm for democratic principles, and that's why I'm speaking up. It's actually the Democratic Party that works with the Republican Party against democratic rights and principles. They are not for the working class. They suppress the working class. They suppress all opposition. If you're not unaware that how many strikes that are going on around the country right now, why is it that most people are unaware of that? Because the media, the mainstream media doesn't tell anybody, because they don't want people to know. They don't want the working class to get together and fight against this. So they keep these strikes isolated. The unions are just the arm of the Democratic Party, and they work with the Democratic Party to keep the workers suppressed and to keep them, basically, from going through a general strike. They work with the Democratic Party, and they're there just to suppress the working class. Otherwise, we would see, our political leaders saying, all right, working class, come out, everybody. Let's fight what's happening right now in the country. Let's fight the Republicans for what they're doing. But do they do that? No, they're not doing that. And that's because they work with the Republican Party.
Got it. And Elizabeth, you're also a member of the Los Angeles County Democratic Central Committee. Would you say that in the LACDP, is there more of a democratic process where grievances, can get aired? And, I'm just wondering, what is your general experience in the LACDP?
Well, my general experience for the past year that I've been in there, I was elected. And honestly, I just kind of regret that I got involved with them. Everything is on Zoom. So the chair, Mark Gonzalez, you could basically call him an authoritarian. He has made himself like a king. And if he doesn't like what you're saying on the Zoom meetings, he has total control because it is on Zoom. So he has total control. If he doesn't like what you're saying, he will either silence you and not allow you to speak, or actually what he's done to some activists are boot you off Zoom and not let you back in to participate. So it is very an undemocratic committee, and I'm not really sure what they're there for, only to support Democrats who continue to basically suppress the working class. And for us to be in there. I think, I just don't think that we're going to get anything done. It's just a constant battle with these people that are there. They're all basically followers of Mark Gonzalez. And it's unfortunate because there may be one or two of who used to be maybe Bernie people or activists with us who have actually gotten sucked in and gone into the, kind of forming these rank and file or whatever you want to call it, like with those Democrats that don't speak up against what he's doing, and it's very challenging, and it's very disappointing that this party is run this way, that this committee, the Central Committee, is run this way.
Got it. So yeah, I mean, so much of the time when people try to get involved in politics, they're told, well, have you shown up to your local Democratic Party meeting? And of course, the idea is that they should get involved in the Democratic Party, become delegates. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought that way too. Get involved and become a delegate. Maybe we can make a change. But I'm, after time of seeing how things, and it's been a learning process for me, honestly. Since I became a nurse over 13 years ago, I really didn't know much about politics. I started to really learn as a nurse, being involved with a union and to see how the politics works between a union and a hospital. And then being actually asked to become a delegate for California Democratic Party. And my union actually was the one who encouraged me to do that and supported me. So this is how the union kind of sucks us into, getting involved with the Democratic Party. This is what they do. So I didn't see it at first, but I started to learn after time. You just start to see patterns of things and how they work. And so yeah, I did think that, okay, I can make a change if I do, if I get involved. And but actually, what I see is that people get sucked in, and then it's really, really frustrating because you really start to see that you really cannot make a change with this party. This is one of the oldest capitalist parties, ever in history. So, we have to look back at the history of this party and how it was started. It was started under capitalism, which brought in slavery and racism. So, we have to have an understanding and the historical foundations of that, and to really, put it all together. Without that, I don't think that we really understand why we're doing things or why, what is happening. We can't put it together if we don't really know the true history. So, yeah. So, to me, if somebody asks me, should I run? I'm just kind of like, it depends on what. Are you going to just go with the flow with all those, those people who follow Mark Gonzalez and the rest of his ilk? Or are you going to push back? And if you push back, just be prepared to be silenced. Yeah. So, if anybody can tell me what the Democratic Party has done these decades back to resolve anything, please tell me, what have they done? Because from a young person up until now, I'm 50-something, what I see is worse, things getting worse in our country. And the Democratic Party has been in power more times, I think, than the Republican Party. So, and here in California for sure, there's a stranglehold by the Democratic Party in California. And what do we see? If you walk out to the main street where I live here, you will see homeless people, there's an explosion of homelessness, and LA, we know that that's been going on for a long time, but now we're seeing it here. So that should tell people, that there's a real problem here in California, and our state is run by Democrats. So that should tell you that the Democratic Party is not for the working class, is not for the poor. They're for corporations and the financial oligarchy.